Okay, so for this first item, we're going to install some software. One is going to be a code editor from Microsoft called VS Code, the most popular code editor out there. Most people really like it. And it's so widely used, it's almost become a standard. So inside this item, now I give you a link to VS Code. I already have it installed. Sorry, I already have it installed, but I have the tab up as well. When you go to the website, based on your operating system, so if you're running Mac, you'll get a Mac version. If you're running Windows, of course, you'll get that version. If you're running Linux, you'll get that version to download here. So download whichever one is for your operating system. Again, it will dynamically adjust that, and then just run the regular install, whatever that is for you. Now, I've already installed it. The other thing about VS Code is once you install it, and there's really nothing specific about the install itself, but once you install it, it looks somewhat like this. Now, it might look a little different from a color perspective because there's all kinds of ways to customize it, and you'll learn some of that through the process. But here we have the installed program once you've done. Okay. So the other thing you're going to want is now, because we've been working out on GitHub, but the term Git, Git, is specific to some software that you're going to learn in this class that's called version control. So Git is software that is loaded on your local system that handles the version control. Now, what we've been doing up until this point is we've been doing all of our work out on GitHub. Okay. So GitHub is actually a website. Okay. So in this case, under our, that helps when you type the right 82. We've been doing work here. And so in doing work here, we've been, even though it may not have been clear, whenever you're committing, you're using version control techniques. And now you're just going to learn how to use them on your local system. Okay. A word before we install Git. Now, I'm going to demonstrate it on the Windows side, but for my Mac students, depending on how your system is set up, you can just go to the terminal and type this. It is quite an install because it installs some tools, and in the process, you will acquire the software. There is something called Homebrew. I'm not going to demonstrate that because I don't use it. But like I said, for my Mac students, students using Mac, this should work. But reach out if you need help. Okay, so now I'm over here at the link I've provided here. So now, again, this is just, right? So I'm going to go ahead and download this. And now you're given some options. This is not quite as dynamic as the other one because it's asking you which, 32 or 24. So one thing you can do is actually go into, I think it's just my computer. It used to be. There we go. Or how about system? There we go. System. System should give it to you. And really what you're looking for is, and in this case, I'm running Windows 11. So I can see I have a 64-bit operating system. So you just want to go to find your system and then go to that. Like I said, I could have just went here and typed system. I would have been just as effective. But what you want to know is which one you have. It probably will run on either one, so you'd probably be fine. So I'm going to download this, and and in this case, it's downloading here. And it's pretty quick. It's not that big of a download. Okay, so there, it's done. So now I'm going to click into it, and this will give you several options. I'm going to minimize everything else. And now what it's going to do is it's going to say, yes, I'm going to allow it. Now, I generally don't like to have installs locally if I don't do them if I don't understand the software. And in this case, this is such a well-known piece of software. I believe it's very safe and okay to install it. But in general, you always want to make sure you understand, from where you get things. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes here. And then it's going to walk through a series of steps. Yes, I want to install it. Okay. And so you can see the version. Now, if you're watching this in a future semester, this might be a different install. So don't worry about that. So now it's going to go through the install process. Again, on the Mac, this is going to look a little differently. So follow those instructions and check that out. Okay. So go ahead and let this happen. So that's the first step. And now I think it's going to ask us a series of questions. Okay. Oh, actually, it didn't ask me a series of questions. That's very interesting. It may be because I already had it installed. So if you get those, generally you can take the defaults on any of them. You can always reach out if there's one you're concerned about. But in general, I've installed this enough times. It's just generally good. And it's fine to take the defaults. So I'm not going to actually, I'm going to not, yeah, I could look at the release notes, but in this case, I'm just going to hit finished. And it probably is going to give me the release notes. Okay. Untrusted, yeah. So in this case, what VS Code jumped up. Let's go ahead and say you're trying to open. Let's go ahead for this. Oh, these are the release notes. That's why. I was like, why are you telling me this? So this was when the release notes. So you could check off on that box. Okay. So now we have installed them. Before we move on, we can clearly see we have VS Code, but it's hard to see that you have Git. So in this case, if I was to look in my local system and if I typed Git, I will see that there are some applications. Not sure why that didn't. My keyboard's acting a little weird. There are some applications associated with Git that are installed on your local system. This one is the most common, but we're actually going to use Git built in our integrated terminal. And I'll show you what that means. But if you ever need to, you could just come over here. Now, this is a little hard to see. Let me minimize this so you can see this. This is a little window that is basically dropping you into a command line that is what we call git bash. Okay. Now, you can use it this way. You just want to have an understanding of how to navigate, which is totally fine. But I'm going to show you, I think, a more simplified way because then you only have one app. So let me get out of here and come back to VS Code. So VS Code has this nice little thing which is called an integrated terminal. So notice down here, and here's the keyboard shortcuts if you want to find it. But if I go to View and I go to Terminal, then what happens here, and this may vary based on your system, for me, and I can see it here, it's defaulting to Bash. Okay, and so that's basically the equivalent of what we looked at a minute ago with Git Bash. And so what it is, and this is, I think, a nicer way to do it, it's just built into your overall, it's integrated into your VS Code. Now, you might wonder what this is. Well, this is part of what we're going to learn is how to use command line, how to use VS Code. So for now, before we leave, the only thing you want to do is to see that you have Git installed is do git -- version. And when you do that, this is a command. So git is a command, -- version, right, is a flag that you're sending it. And what this is telling you back, this is the computer responding back, hey, you have version ... Okay, which is good. So what that means is you have then for this step completed it. And there's been a couple things you've done. You're going to learn more as we go along, but this should be, you should be set up to go to the next item at this point. Again, there's nothing to submit here. Just go ahead and go to the next step.